So today we are going to get started on these close cut fingers. So we are at 3 pounds, 6.3 ounces, or 1.54 kilograms. So just a little over 1.5 kilos of close cut fingers here. So we'll see how much gold we get out of Johnny's close cut fingers. Well, hello Scrappers, Mike here. Welcome back to my channel. So what do we got going on today? Well, up on the bench today, we've got this huge bag of close cut fingers that my friend Johnny in Finland sent me to process for him. This is just one of dozens of jobs Johnny's got going on for me. So if any of you out there are interested in having me do a toll refine for you, sorry. Johnny's going to keep me busy for the rest of the year. Okay, I've got so much stuff I need to do for him. I just can't handle anything else, along with my own stuff. There's just too much work. So today we are going to get started on these close cut fingers. I like to call these the low-hanging fruit of the e-waste world because it's really easy to get the gold off these. Okay, and there's lots of different ways you can do it, especially if you're on a budget. If you're on a budget, you can put these in muriatic acid, hydrogen peroxide, put it in air bubbler from like an aquarium air bubbler, and let them sit for a couple of weeks, and you'll get all that gold off cheap and easy. You can do copper chloride on these. You can do poor man's nitric acid on these, or you can do the real thing, nitric acid. Now, you know me, I'm usually one for doing this the easy and cheap way, but since Johnny has done so much work on me, I have bought many liters of nitric acid. So I have a good excess of nitric acid around, and I need to get these done in a hurry because I've got a backlog of work for Johnny. So we're going to go the nitric acid method today. If I can get these all in a beaker that's big enough, I'm going to add some water to it, add some nitric acid to it, and see if we can get this stuff done in a big hurry. It's Saturday. Hopefully I'll have all the gold off by Sunday. That's my goal. And get the gold separated from the PC board stuff, and I can move on to other stuff. So that's my goal. We'll see if we get it done. I think the nitric acid will do the job, okay? So let's see what we've got here weight-wise so we can calculate some kind of yield. Let's see here. I don't know if you can read that. I'll zoom in a little. Okay. So let's see. We are on the pound scale. So we are at 3 pounds, 6.3 ounces, or 1.54 kilograms. So just a little over 1.5 kilos of close cut fingers here. So we'll see how much gold we get out of Johnny's close cut fingers. So let me see if I can get them all in one of my biggest beakers here. It might be a tight fit. And we'll get it in a fume hood and put some nitric acid on them and see if we can get this process going. Well, it was close, but I managed to get them all in one of my 3-liter beakers. And it took a little shaking to get them down there. All right, so let me get some distilled water on these. Not sure distilled water is actually necessary for this, but I happen to have it handy, so we're going to use it. Regular tap water might work just as well. Okay. Let me make sure everything is submerged under the water. I got to have some room left to put nitric acid in here, so. All right, so let's get this in the fume hood and get some nitric acid on it, put some heat to it, and get this party started. All right, I've got 2 concerns about this. Maybe I should have split it up into 2 beakers. But we'll try it and see how it goes. It could be a disaster. It could work great. Two concerns. Number one, I don't have any way to cover this because my usual cover sits too low and it's in the liquid. Secondly, I am a little bit worried about this possibly boiling over. So I'm not going to put any heat to it right away. And I'm going to be a little conservative with my additions of nitric acid to start with, just in case the reaction decides it wants to run away. Let me get the fume hood going here. And we're going to put a little nitric acid in. Well, we got some bubbles going on already. It might just be air bubbles coming up. But I'm going to let this sit and marinate in nitric acid for a little while. If the reaction doesn't start up in earnest, I'll put some heat to it and put some more nitric acid on it. But I'm going to be real careful so this doesn't boil over. So let's just let this sit and do its thing for a little while and see what happens. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes or so, and it looks like there's a whole lot of nothing going on in here. All right, I don't see any bubbling, not much activity at all. So I'm going to put some heat to it, not a whole lot because I don't want it boiling, and I'm going to put a little bit more nitric acid on here. See if we can get some activity out of this, okay? We got to dissolve the underlying metal that the gold is plated onto and get rid of that, and then the gold should come free. Okay, so we'll just let that sit and simmer and see how well it does. I've got another concern now. I just realized I'm going to have a heck of a time stirring that. I probably should have divided it up between multiple beakers. Well, that's what happened. When you're in a hurry, sometimes you make poor decisions and make mistakes that might wind up taking longer than if you'd done it right in the first place. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I can always divide it up later. Okay, so we'll just let it sit and simmer a while and see what happens. All right, it's been maybe another half hour. Starting to see a little bit of activity, getting some bubbling going on, a little bit of scum on the surface. Yeah, there's definitely bubbling going on as this warms up. I don't have the heat up too high. I'm going to heat it up a little bit more. See if we can get this activity going in here. Because I would like to get this done this weekend. If it goes on into the week, well, I can work on it some after work. So, but I would like to get it done this weekend if possible. So we'll see what happens. So I'm just going to let it sit and simmer. Oh yeah, there's some big bubbling going on now. Keep an eye on it to make sure the reaction doesn't get too extreme. If it does bubble over a little, I've got the Corningware dish there to catch it. But hopefully things are going now. All right, so it's maybe an hour later, and look at this. We got some serious bubbling going on, and the liquid's turning green. I'm taking those both as a good sign because it's not hot enough to boil. Yeah, it's 60 C. So that's not boiling. That's the nitric acid doing its job, eating the base metal under the gold. So that's good. All right, and all these bubbles, I think you're going to do a good job of agitating the liquid too. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's not long we start seeing gold foils floating in there. Excellent. So I'm just going to let this go. Getting on towards lunchtime. I'll go ahead and have some lunch. And we'll see what it looks like when I come back out. Okay, I went to lunch. Gone about half hour, 45 minutes. And look what we got. We got gold floating on the surface. Excellent. This is starting to work. Yeah, I see gold down inside the liquid too, dancing around. So, yeah, the foils are coming off. Excellent. Excellent. We might get this done this weekend after all. Great. So I'm just going to let this continue to cook. Everything's going good. Doesn't look like it needs more nitric acid yet. I'm just going to let it go. If the reaction stops or really slows down, I'll put a little more nitric in. I'll be careful though because it's hot now. And could get a really strong reaction. So, but at the moment, I'm happy to just let it cook. All right, it's getting late in the afternoon, early evening here. The liquid's gotten really, really green. Fair amount of gold floating on the surface, but I still see a lot on the fingers. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this on low heat overnight and just let it continue doing its thing. So I'm going to turn the heat down some. There's been a fair amount of evaporation, so I think I'm going to put a little bit more water and maybe nitric acid in it to top it back up. And just let it go overnight and see what it looks like in the morning. All right, so I will do that, and then we'll be back tomorrow, see what we got. Well, it's the next morning. There's been some significant evaporation overnight, but there's also been some significant gold removal. My goodness, this is looking pretty good. All right, so let me top this up with water again and turn the heat back up, because I turned it down low overnight. And we'll let this cook for a while today and see if we can get this done today. That'd be great. Well, I didn't quite get it done by Sunday evening, but look at all the gold on the bottom of the beaker. Some just hasn't come off of the fingers yet, but it's really close. So I'm just going to let this again sit on low heat overnight and probably top up the liquid if any is evaporated. I'm sure some will by tomorrow morning before I go to work. And then after work, hopefully I'll have some time to work on this and maybe it will be ready to go. We'll see. All right, well, it's late the next day. Got home from work, come out here, look at it. I think it's done. I really think it's done. I don't see gold on any of the fingers. I can see right through the wall of the beaker. There's a whole lot of gold on the bottom of the beaker. So I think we're done. Now, giving this some thought, I was thinking, you know what? If I had done poor man's nitric with, say, sulfuric acid and a nitrate salt, this might have actually gone quicker because it had nitric acid and sulfuric acid that both attack the base metals. So maybe I made a mistake by using pure nitric on this. I don't know. But I think we're there. I'm going to turn the heat off because it's still quite warm. I'll let it cool off. And maybe tomorrow afternoon after work, I might have some time to deal with it. I think I'll probably decant the liquid off through a filter, capture any floating gold, and deal with washing the gold off of the fingers. And it's always my least favorite part of doing this, but there's a lot of gold in there though, so it's worth it. Okay, so we'll just leave it sit till tomorrow afternoon. Alrighty, so this video is going to be a little bit shorter than I planned because I lost all the footage of everything that happened between the end of the nitric acid boils and now, where we're just about to start recovering the gold from the debris in the bottom of this beaker with Aqua Regia. The SD card that's all on vanished into thin air, just evaporated. I cannot find it anywhere. It probably fell out of my pocket at some point. I can't find it anyway. So I'll give you a quick recap of how we got here. After the last of the nitric acid boils, I decanted off the liquid from all of the fingers through a filter to catch any floating gold, and there was some. And then I started washing all the fingers. Basically, I took them out a few at a time and swished them around in an ultrasonic cleaner, and that knocked all of the gold stuck on them off. There was not only gold that hadn't fully lifted off, but there was other gold from fingers above them as I got deeper down that was draped across them. So I just kept that up until I got the bulk of the fingers cleaned up. There's still a lot of really short ones in there, and I decided I'd reached a point of diminishing returns and wasn't going to continue with that anymore. So then I filtered the liquid in the ultrasonic cleaner, and the filter's in here. I gave you a look at what was in the bottom of the ultrasonic cleaner. There was a lot of gold down there. Fortunately, I did that with my phone, so I think we can still insert that footage here. Now here we go. Here's what's on the bottom of the ultrasonic cleaner. That's a pretty respectable amount of gold down there. Yeah, a few little pieces of fingers too. I'm not even going to bother trying to separate them. I'm just going to dump all this stuff right in the big beaker with the remains of the fingers and the gold in it, and we'll just process it all together. And then I took the stuff in the bottom of the ultrasonic cleaner and I put it in here. I put the filter in here, and now we are ready to dissolve all this gold with Aqua Regia. Yeah, there's still a lot of fingers in there, but they're short, and cleaning them all up is just too onerous, too difficult. So I'm not going to bother with it. I think we're going to have some pretty dirty looking gold solution. I'm sure there's still some base metals in there. There's going to be some green from the solder mask. A lot of them have green solder mask on. It's just going to be ugly lime green Aqua Regia, I'm sure. Also, I noted in the video, which you did not get to see, that we have some metastatic acid in the bottom of the beaker. No doubt from solder on some of these fingers. As I was cleaning them, I noted that some of these fingers had originally, before I hit them with the nitric acid, had a lot of solder on them. So the tin in the solder has been converted into this white metastatic acid on the bottom of the beaker. I don't think there's really enough there to screw us up. I think we're going to be able to dissolve all this gold. Oh my goodness, thunder. Well, that's another thing you didn't get to see in the video that I lost, is that my lab is once again underwater, and I have a bridge I've built to get out to it, so I can do that without needing to put on waders. But here comes the rain again. Summer in Florida, and we've got this tropical system parked over us, and it's been raining cats and dogs every day for a week, and my lab is underwater again. But I think we can get some Aqua Regia on this and get this started cooking before I have to bolt for the house again. It's only the third time it's rained today, okay? So we're going to hit some muriatic acid and put on this stuff. I don't know if I have enough left in this jug, but I think I have 2 other jugs of it, so if it's not enough... Oh, I think that's going to be enough. Oh, yeah. I just need to cover that stuff. I don't need to put a huge amount in. And then if you know me, I'm usually... Let me turn the fume hood on. You know me, I'm usually quite conservative with my nitric acid. I generally put it in, you know, a milliliter, 2 or 3 at a time with a pipette. But number one, I'm in a hurry, and number two, there's a lot of gold in here, so I'm just going to sort of eyeball it. Okay? And I'll put the muriatic acid. I'll keep the nitric acid handy so that I can put more in. All right, I've got enough of the fingers out of here that I can actually stir this stuff, so that's great. Okay, so let me put a lid on it. Yeah, we're going green already. As soon as I put the muriatic acid in, it started going green. I was expecting that. I'll put a little heat to it, but we've already got a reaction going on. There's a lot of fine gold in there, and even stone cold, we've got quite the reaction going on already. In fact, I might back the heat down. In fact, I'm going to turn it off entirely. Fine gold is very reactive to Aqua Regia, so I don't want to have a boil over. Got the Corningware dish here to catch it if it does boil over. Oh yeah, we're getting some orange fuming already. So okay, yeah, okay, this is working good. So I'm going to get all the gold in solution, all the gold that's in that filter in solution. And then we can filter the liquid that comes off of this and have relatively clean gold solution. It's still going to be lime green, but relatively clean. So I'm just going to let this go. And when it looks like the reaction has slowed down or stopped, I might put a little heat to it. I don't know if it's going to need more nitric acid or not. I put a fair amount in. Not too worried about over nitricing it. I can always denox it. But I want to make sure all that gold goes into solution, especially the stuff caught between the fingers. I will stir it from time to time as long as it's not raining cats and dogs out here and I'm stuck in the house. So, okay, we'll just let it cook for now. And yeah, cook with no heat because it's cooking good. All right, and we'll check on it in a little bit. All right, it's been a little while. The initial reaction has slowed down a lot, so I am going to put some heat to it, but not a whole lot. I'm just going to warm it up. I don't want the reaction to run away on me, so just going to warm this stuff up and see what that does for us. It's very humid out here. Sorry. The the window on the fume hood is kind of fogged up, but it's 100% humidity. It's hard to prevent. Sorry about that. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. Well, it's been not quite an hour, and wow, we've got a pretty good reaction going on there. But I'm going to turn the heat off because I was just informed by the boss that she wants to go out to dinner tonight. So, taking the wife out to dinner. So, I'm going to turn the heat off just so there's no chance that this is going to boil over while I'm gone. And we're just going to let it sit. I imagine that Aqua Regia is strong enough to dissolve the gold even if it's only warm. I don't think it needs to be on heat. So we'll just let it go and see what it looks like later. Alrighty, it is the next day. And this just sitting here, I'm sure it's dissolved all the gold. I've stirred it around really good. I don't see any gold on the bottom of the beaker anywhere. So I'm pretty sure we dissolved all of it just sitting here. Well, I was going to say it warmed up and then it cooled off. You know, I turned the heat up, then it cooled off, but it didn't really get that cool. It's like 94 degrees Fahrenheit out here right now. So that is not exactly cold Aqua Regia right there. So we need to do a couple things here before we can filter this and get our gold. Ooh. Number one thing I need to do is turn the fume hood on. Now they've got the lid off of it. Got a little whiff of it. So, some of these fingers were really old. I think some of them are Bakelite from before the fiberglass era of printed circuit boards. So, no doubt the solder that we dissolved in there had lead in it. I'm sure it is plenty old enough to have lead in it. So, I'm going to put some sulfuric acid in it. I'm going to put a fair amount too. It's about 3 milliliters. I'm going to about double that and give it a good stir. Just so, actually I'm going to triple it. What the heck. Just so any lead that's in here can have a chance to drop out of solution as insoluble lead sulfate. We don't want that following our gold through the rest of the process. So, give it a good stir here. Oh, there were a few big pieces down in there that I missed when I was hand processing them. Must have been way down on the bottom. Okay. So, we need to do one other thing. We need to denox this, because I have no doubt that I have a big excess of nitric acid in there. I got really heavy-handed and just poured it in, I remember. So, probably there's a lot of excess nitric there. So let me mix up a saturated solution of sulfamic acid and we will take care of that. Okay, I have mixed up a saturated solution of sulfamic acid. Saturated solution means that you've got as much dissolved in the liquid as will dissolve. If there's some solid left after you've got as much to dissolve as will dissolve, that is a saturated solution, okay? Need to be a little careful because this could be highly reactive going in here since we know we have an excess of nitric acid. Oh yeah, look at that. If I had dumped this all in, we'd have boiled over. Definitely. Wow. I guess I was really heavy-handed with the nitric acid. Okay. And now, of course, this is all cold. It is not as cold as it would be at 94 degrees Fahrenheit in Florida. But, yeah. Yeah, I got to be careful. I want to denox all the crud on the bottom too, but I got to be careful stirring it up here. I don't create, I should say, a bubble over, not a boil over, because it's not hot enough to boil. The way this works is the sulfamic acid attacks the nitric acid in there and converts it to nitrous oxide or laughing gas, which is what's bubbling out of solution here. I guess if I got a good sniff of it, I'd be a very happy boy right now, but I'm going to try not to do that. I'll be happy when I see how much gold I get out of this stuff. There's a lot of debris on the bottom. I'm probably going to put the rest of this in, even though it didn't really get much of a reaction the last time. I think I'm going to put it in, including the solids from the bottom. Stir it up good, and then we'll call it denox. And I should be able to filter this now. And we can drop the gold. Alright. Yeah, I'm going to call that denoxed. Okay. So let me set up my filtration apparatus and we'll get that done. Alrighty, let's get this lime green stuff filtered. Get this process moving here. Denoxing this got it quite warm. Interesting chemical reaction there. Okay, I'm going to try and just get the liquid. Got it. There we go. We weren't sealing good, but now we are. Alright, yeah, my gasket needs to be replaced. My little rubber stopper gasket there. The chemicals eat them up so quickly. But we're working now. So I'm going to go through with the liquid first as much as possible. Otherwise, this will take forever. And we'll work on getting the solids in there. Yeah. Filter's already plugging up, even though I'm not trying to get too many of the solids through. So this filtration is going to take a little while. And what I might do, rather than trying to dump all this stuff into the Buckner funnel, we'll see. I might just rinse it a few times with some distilled water and then dump the water off through the funnel, rather than try and dump all that debris in there. That would really plug up the filter. And it might puncture it too, which would suck because I didn't have to refilter everything. So it's coming through reasonably clear. So that's good. Okay. So we'll just keep this filtration going, and I'll be back when something interesting happens. Okay, I got the liquid through. Now what I've decided to do, to avoid potentially putting a hole in my filter in there, by dumping these sharp, jagged pieces of circuit board in there, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give them a few good rinses with distilled water. And there's a lot of space left in the flask here, so I can give them a couple of good rinses, several. Try and get as much of the pregnant solution out of them as I can, but leave them in the beaker. So I really don't want to have to filter this again. It took longer than you saw. Okay? Come on. Start up again. So So at least 3, maybe 4 or 5, depending on how color of the liquid coming off when I'm done, to make sure I get the vast bulk of the pregnant solution out of this stuff. Don't want to leave any gold behind. Alright, so I'm going to keep this up until the solution's coming off pretty clear. It's already, yeah, there's a lot of yellow solids in it, but the solution's actually coming off a whole lot clearer now than it was in the beginning. I'll give it a few more rinses, and then we'll just let the vacuum pull the rest of the stuff through the filter. I'll need to wash the yellow color out of the filter. Then we'll have our liquid ready for dropping the gold. All right, so it's time to drop this gold. We'll see what we get out of this lime green Kool-Aid stuff here. Hopefully, we'll get some reasonably clean gold out of it, though I will redissolve it and reprecipitate it again. Now, for this initial gold drop, I'm just going to use good old Stump Out, sodium metabisulfite. I can hear my friend Richard complaining that I'm not using iron sulfate. Well, I'm in a hurry. I'm running out of daylight, running out of time. I don't have time to mix up any and filter it, so we're just going to put some good old Stump Out in here and see what we can do. I do believe it is working. Look how much darker we're getting here. I do believe the good old Stump Out is working. Let me give it a good stir here. Once you start seeing a lot of white foam, that's generally a good indication that you've got about enough Stump Out in there. But I'm going to put a little more in just to make sure we get a complete gold drop. All right. So I think that's good. From how dark it's gotten, I do believe, yeah, we are getting a good gold drop. Okay, so I am going to lid this up and let it sit and settle and see just how much gold we wind up with on the bottom of that beaker. I got a feeling it's going to be a fair amount. There were a lot of fingers there, and some of them were very old. I could tell it had thick gold plating on them and a lot of it. So I think we're going to get a lot of gold out of this gold drop. Is there gold on the surface? Let's see. Hard to tell. A little foamy, but I'll bet some of that's floating gold in that foam. All right, so we'll just let this go and see what we get. All right, it's the next day. I just let it sit overnight, and while I was at work today, come back, and it looks like a nice layer of gold on the bottom. The liquid is clear, but it's still dark green, so you really can't see the gold very well down there. A little bit of scum of gold around the edge of the beaker too. I'll have to wipe that off and save the rag, but let's do a stannous chloride test. Make sure we got all the gold. People rage at, whoops, making a mess here. People rage at me for not doing enough stannous chloride tests, even though I'm pretty sure I put more than enough SMB in there. Yeah, we're good. We got the gold out. All right, so it's all down there in the bottom of the beaker and maybe a little bit stuck on the sides. All right, so, well, you know what? That turned slightly orange as it's sitting there. Might have a little bit of platinum in there. Maybe a little bit. I'm not really surprised. That was some old electronics. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some platinum in it. I mean, not enough to try to go after, but certainly a trace. I might, this liquid's definitely going into my stock pot, and that trace of platinum will wind up on the bottom of the stock pot for future processing someday down the road. All right, so I'm going to do my usual thing. I'm going to siphon this liquid off into my temporary stock pot. I find that disturbs the gold on the bottom less than trying to pour the liquid off. And the gold settled reasonably quickly, but it might be fine enough that it would be disturbed into the water column if I tried to pour it. So I will siphon it off, and then I'll give you a look at it. after I siphon the bulk of the liquid off. And we'll see what the gold on the bottom of the beaker looks like. Alrighty, so it does not look like a hugely impressive amount of gold, and we got a little bit of light colored stuff in there that might be silver chloride. Might have been a little bit of silver in that, in those fingers. There's a little bit of light colored scum there. Anyway, this is a 3-liter beaker, so, you know, unless there's a whole lot of gold here, it's not going to look impressive on the bottom of it. Plus, it all ran over to this side when I tilted the beaker over when I was siphoning out the liquid. So, I'm going to transfer this to a much smaller beaker and start cleaning it up. I'm not going to redissolve it right away. I'm going to add this stuff to the gold I got from doing Johnny's relay contacts. And I'm just going to let this gold, this one precipitation gold, build up until I have the bulk, at least, of Johnny's stuff processed, and then I'll reprocess all the gold, make it as pure as possible before I make ingots. Just trying to reduce the amount of work here. There's no reason I can't refine an ounce of gold rather than, you know, refining a third of an ounce 3 or 4 times. So, yeah. All right. So let me get this transferred to a smaller beaker and we'll get started cleaning it up. All right, I got the gold in a much smaller beaker with some distilled water. Got it on the heat here. Gonna get a good boil. You can see the cloudiness. That's probably silver chloride, like I said. So hopefully what's going to happen here when I boil this is the gold's going to consolidate and stay on the bottom of the beaker. The silver chloride's going to stay in the water column because it's so much lighter than the gold. And then I'll pour the liquid off through a filter, just in case any fine gold comes over with it. And I'll give it, you know, 2 or 3 more boils with distilled water. We should clean the gold up pretty good. And then I'll dry it out and we'll weigh it. And I'll add it to the container that I've been putting Johnny's gold in as we go. We'll also calculate a yield and see just how much gold we got out of those fingers. Should be interesting, so stay tuned. Alrighty, that's exactly what I wanted to see. We got a nice rolling boil going. The gold is staying on the bottom of the beaker. It's consolidated and staying down there. But all that stuff making the liquid cloudy is staying up in the water column. Excellent. So I'm going to pour this stuff off through a filter. We'll put some fresh distilled water on it and give it some more boils. Like I said, 3 or 4 boils till the water's coming off clear and the gold looks good. Then I'll dry it out. All right, so let me get this first boil liquid filtered off, and we'll do it again. Now, some people have been wanting to know what sort of filters I use, so we'll talk about that in a second. But you can see the box down there. I might get some of the gold over. That's why I always pour off the waste liquid through a filter. Yeah, looks a little more impressive in a small beaker, doesn't it? So there's still some more of that light colored stuff in there, but hopefully we'll get rid of more of it with more boils. So let me put some more distilled water on this, get it back in the fume hood, and we'll give it some more boils. Then we'll talk about the filter paper. Okay, I really don't think filter paper is that critical. I mean, some people use coffee filters, and I've done that in the past. They're not the best, but they're cheap, and they're readily available. These are 15 centimeter qualitative lab filters. I get these in various sizes for my different size funnels. You know, the humidity out here is having its way with the box. But, you know, that's what I use for those of you who've been asking. And again, it's like I say, it's not critical. Sometimes for big filtration jobs, I'll line a colander with several layers of just like Bounty paper towel and filter stuff that way. You know, it really isn't critical most of the time, unless you need to filter something really, really finely. And even then, that's so rare that happens. Like, sometimes I'll just filter stuff 2 or 3 times through the same filter, and as the pores in it get plugged up, it does a much better job of filtering, although it's usually a lot slower. So there you go. For those of you who wanted to know what sort of filters I've used, there's your info. All right, this stuff's looking pretty good after 4 boils. Going to dry it out so we can get a weight on it and calculate a yield. All right, the gold from Johnny's Fingers is all dried out. Let's see how much we've got here. Get this going. See if you can read that. We are on the gram scale. Yes, on the gram scale. Okay. So this is actually some pretty good looking gold, considering the green solution I precipitated it from. But I think maybe a lot of that green was dye from the conformal coating or solder mask on the boards. I think that's what that was. Wow. Okay. We're doing pretty good. Almost 7 grams already. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't expecting to get this much. But, you know, those fingers were pretty darn old, and a lot of them, and the gold plating on them was pretty thick. You don't do that anymore. Gold's too expensive. Back in the day, gold was a lot cheaper, relatively speaking, and electronics were more expensive. And of course, a lot of this stuff came out of phone equipment. The phone company spared no expense, and they passed those expenses on to their subscribers. All right, that's showing up 9.31 grams of gold from Johnny's Close Cut Fingers. That is not too shabby at all. Let me calculate a quick yield. I don't expect the yield to be too high because I know gold plating is thin. So let me do a little bit of math here. 9.31 divided by 1540, which was how many grams of fingers we had, equals, well, that's only 0.6%. So, yeah, so only 0.6%, but still, 9.31 grams, that's not bad. Especially considering that, doing the fingers is like some of the easiest gold recovery you can do from e-waste. So that's not too shabby. So I've got the over a third of an ounce of gold here in this pill bottle that I got from Johnny's relay contacts I did. I'm going to add this to it. And down the road, after I get all of Johnny's stuff processed and I get all of his gold together, we're going to re-refine it again, make it as pure as I can, and then we'll pour some ingots. So that's coming. But next, I need to get the gold out of his fully gold-plated ceramic IC chips that he sent me. And he sent me a boatload of those. So we're going to get a lot of gold out of that and probably some silver too. I expect this is going to get pretty full by the time I'm done processing all of Johnny's stuff, because he's got other stuff with gold on it too. All right. Well, thanks a lot for watching this video. If you found this video at all interesting, educational, informative, inspirational, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to see my future videos. There'll be more processing Johnny's stuff for gold and silver and other stuff down the road. In fact, we're going to do some platinum recovery too. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching this one. Bye.